south. I don't want to be up here.
Right.
I lived
Well,
in Tennessee for 5 years, and then I was down in South Carolina for 3 years. That's where I want to go back to.
yeah, the warmth
3 months we were down there.
for sure. Well, welcome everyone for whoever just joined us. I am Chef Jessica. Chef Kenna is here. She will be on the chat if you have any questions. Throw your answers in there. We're going to kind of go through some problems today. But yeah, you are here for Math Foundations Week 3. We are covering volume conversions is the big gist going on. So I am going to share my screen with you all and we'll kind of get started. So basically when we're talking volume conversions, actually before I start, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I will pause it here and there too. So there's not many of us. So I mean, definitely feel like you can throw it out there, whatever you need help with. But anyway, back to this volume conversions. You have an equivalent two measurements that are the exact same amount, but different units. So like 1 tablespoon, 1 to 3 teaspoons. Conversions are just the unit of measure. So when we're talking volume conversions, we're talking like cups, pints, quarts, gallons, those type of things. I'm going to pause here. Take a picture of this if you do not have it written down. Write this down. Snap a quick picture. You will need this. You will need a Grandmaster cheat sheet. This needs to be on there. Same with the weight ones, which we'll get into next week. That's more ounces, pounds, kilograms, things like that. So I'm just going to keep it here real quick. Basically, though, and I do want to kind of let you all know, working off of this chart, the cool thing of it is a lot of them you can figure out from knowing one of the other ones. So if you forget how many pints are in a gallon, but you know how many cups are in a gallon, and you also know how many pints are in a cup, you can kind of figure out based on some of the info you know, because it's all really interchangeable. So if you can't memorize the whole thing, memorize a couple. You'll get it within time though. This is definitely one of those things. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. You just will. If you don't practice and you don't use it ever, you're not going to be very good at it. You're going to forget. But granted, you can definitely always use your little cheat sheet. I'm going to still pause here for a minute. Make sure you write it down. Take a picture. This is literally what we're working on today. So if you need this, everyone good on that? Okay. I don't hear any no's. So to make a smaller unit, you basically multiply by the conversion factor. And so doing that, you would take like 1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons. How many teaspoons are in 4 tablespoons? So what you do, you take your 4 tablespoons and you multiply it by your 3 teaspoons. Because for each one of these 4 tablespoons, you have 3 teaspoons in it. So you take your 4, you times it by 3. Again, use your calculator. You have it in front of you. You have one on your phone. If you don't know the mental math, that is a-okay. That's what your calculator is for. So 4 times 3 equals 12 teaspoons. So you're always multiplying when you're going from one bigger unit to a smaller unit. I think I said that backwards. That's okay. So let's practice a couple. So how many cups are in a gallon? We have 16 cups equals 1 gallon. So we know that. That is on your basic conversion chart. How many cups are in 3 gallons? So you take your 3 gallons and you multiply it by your 16 cups. It gives you 48 cups. We will do more examples for sure, but I'm just kind of walking you through the different ways to figure these out. How many pints are in a quart? Take your 2 pints equals 1 quart. That is on your conversion sheet, your chart. I should say this too. If you forget or you have a brain fart or you lost your sheet and you haven't made a new one, because I feel like that would happen to me. Google knows. Google definitely knows. So if you type this in Google, how many pints are in a quart because you forgot, Google will tell you there's 2 pints in 1 quart. A lot of these you can definitely look up on Google. Again, another resource to your advantage, might as well use it. So trying this one out, how many pints are in 4 quarts? We know 2 pints equals 1. So you take your 4 quarts, you multiply it by your 2, and that gives you 8 pints. How are we feeling with this concept?
Hearing it like this, it actually sounds like it's a little bit easier than what most people would think. Math isn't necessarily my strong suit, but it just I get confused on some of them, and it's been a rough one on some of the conversions that I've had to figure out, especially for like meat. When you got uncooked meat that reduces down, and you need so many pounds of cooked. So
Yeah, definitely. A lot of this stuff, a lot of culinary math, like the more you do it, the more you're going to understand it. And a lot of the problems you're doing, if you're doing, because I'm a dyslexic math person, I'm going to be honest. I flip-flop things all the time. And I still do it. I'm like, that just doesn't seem right. And usually in culinary math, if you're doing something backwards, or if you're like dividing when you should multiply, or something just simple like that because you forgot order of operations, your number is going to come out and your answer is going to be so weird and out of whack that, like, in context to what the question's asking you, it's not going to make sense most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time it will be pretty obvious when something's wrong. And a lot of stuff, especially again in culinary math, anything you're doing, whether it be costing or this or conversions, whatever you're doing, break down the question, make sure you're reading that question. There's always a lot of information given to you, and there's a lot of words, to be honest. So you have to kind of break down, like, what is this even giving me? What is it even asking? Because sometimes you don't need all the information that they're giving you. Sometimes you only need half of it. And so you kind of have to just go slowly, read the question a couple of times, make sure you understand what is it even asking, and then do your math. I know it's really easy to just like start putting in the numbers in your calculator because, like, why not? But that's just one huge tip going forward, and for anyone who has any type of math issues, for sure. Kind of going with the same idea, if you have a larger conversion or you want to get a larger conversion, and this is just basic math principles, you would end up dividing. So same idea, we know there's 3 teaspoons and 1 tablespoon. And this is the same question, just asked reversely. So it's asking how many of a larger unit are in a smaller unit. So how many tablespoons are in 15 teaspoons? So basically, how many 15 teaspoons equals how many tablespoons? We know there's 3 to 1 as a ratio. So you would take your 15 teaspoons and you would divide it by your 3, because you know there's 3 for each tablespoon. And that would give you 5 tablespoons. Now, if we do this exact same math problem the other way that we were just doing for the smaller unit, so we have our 15, we divide it by 3, and that gives us 5. So now if I ask this question the other way around, how many teaspoons are in 5 tablespoons? It's just multiplication because you're going to the bigger one or the smaller unit. You're taking the bigger one to the smaller one. That's the way I meant to say that. So you would take your 5 and you multiply it by 3, and that gives you your 15 teaspoons. So it's the same problem, just reversed based on what the question's asking. To be perfectly honest with y'all, most of the stuff you're going to do in Escape and most of the questions you're going to be asked, you're going to be going to the smaller unit. You're always going to be going to that smaller unit. Very rarely will you be going to the larger unit, but it's good to understand the math behind it and be able to do this principle if needed, because it's the same question, just asking in a different way. So that's kind of why I want to cover it. Breaking down a couple examples of the larger unit. How many cups are in a gallon? Again, on your common conversion sheet, we know there's 16 cups to 1 gallon. So how many gallons are in 64 cups? So our smaller unit, and we want to find out how many it is in a larger unit, means dividing. So you take your 64 cups, you would divide it by your 16, because every 16 cups equals 1 gallon, and that would give you 4 gallons. Going along the same principle, how many pints are in a quart? Again, we know there's 2 pints equals 1 quart. Common conversion, you have it written down. or you just are a whiz and remember, hopefully. So how many quarts are in 18 pints? So we know there's 2 pints for every quart. So we need to find out how many quarts are in 18. You take that 18 pints, you divide it by 2, because you know that equals your 1 quart to get it to quarts, and you end up with 9 quarts. 18 divided by 2 equals 9. Now these are nice, simple round numbers. That won't always be the case. I do have a bajillion flashcards because they're fun. So any questions right now about any of this before we kind of dive into some problems? Going to start on the easy side. We'll get harder as it goes on.
So we have just a couple questions, and I think
Okay.
the biggest thing is how to know when you're reading a word problem, kind of what to do. Like, how do you know when you're supposed to divide or multiply, or any good tips and tricks there? And maybe even just, going right over what you've already gone over would be helpful too.
Yeah, no, definitely. So the way to tell is basically reading the question, breaking down what the question is actually asking of you. So when you're doing a smaller conversion, how many teaspoons are in 4 tablespoons? So this question is asking you how many teaspoons. That is the answer we're looking for, is teaspoons. So you hopefully will know. If you don't know, you should soon, that a teaspoon is smaller than a tablespoon. So because you know a teaspoon is smaller than a tablespoon, and it's asking how many teaspoons, that's when you would multiply, and you would multiply by your conversion factor, your 3 to 1. And so again, same principle, but the opposite way, how many tablespoons are in teaspoons? So this answer, or this question's asking you basically how many tablespoons is what we're looking for. Your final answer will be in tablespoons. So your tablespoons are bigger than your teaspoons. So when it's a bigger number and you are trying to find out that, or gosh, I totally mixed that up. When it's, you understand, hopefully. No, but seriously, when it's a smaller number and your smaller unit and you're looking to get a bigger unit, there's the words. Gosh, I'm a math person through and through, if you can't tell. That is when you divide. So same thing, like if you're looking at gallons and cups, you know that a cup is smaller than a gallon. So now this question's asking for how many cups. So you would multiply because it's smaller. Now, same concept, but the other way. We have our cups and our gallons. We know a cup is smaller than a gallon. How many gallons? So this is looking for a bigger unit. So when it's a bigger unit, you would divide it. I hope that helps clarify that a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica.
Cool. Deborah, you have a question?
No, I don't have a question, but based on that was that Jessica, her question. Is that her name? I'm sorry.
Me?
The young lady. No, the young lady just asked a question. I wasn't looking at the phone. I was just listening.
That was Chef Kenna.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. So I think she's trying to get at what are some clues that let you know when to divide or when to multiply. And I would say words like into, you're going to divide or something of that nature. I think that's where she was trying to go.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there's not, I don't want to steer you that way because you could literally word it in different verbiage. When the question's asking you for a smaller unit of something, that is when you multiply. Then if it's asking you a bigger unit of the unit it gives you, that is when you divide. That is
okay. I would just been the advocate. I understand.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
good. I mean, no, it definitely helps because I know different words help different people process the concept. So yeah, no worries there. I hope that makes sense. We're going to do a lot of problems and examples though, and I have plenty that are very easy and simple and are literally on your cheat sheet. I will give you a clue. And then we're going to do some that will require more like math and calculators and stuff. So feel
I
free.
have one more question.
Yeah,
This math class, this tutoring you're doing for this, is this like a particular math class that people are taking or just for in general?
in
Um,
general, this is just math
I didn't know,
foundations.
because I heard you say the cheat sheet and stuff, so I didn't know if it was like a class that they're actually taking a conversion course or something and needed it versus some of us that may be just having a little bit of conversion things we need to do in our assignments. I was just curious.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's not a specific class. I'm sure some of you are in the same class. Some of you are probably in different ones. This is just the little cheat sheet I was referring to, is just knowing that like 1 cup equals 16 tablespoons, 1 pint equals 2 cups. These are just common, simple, basic kitchen conversions that you'll use and that you need to know to be able to do some of the math problems for conversions. Some of you have conversion like knowledge checks throughout your class. This is definitely where that'll help. But no, this workshop's just basically math foundations. So our first week, which is in the archives, actually, I will jump in there. So just while we're talking about it, this is not your class, but this is a class. You have your Start Here section. That's where your online tutoring will be. And this is where you can find all of this is where you book a session with us. And this is all of our workshops when you're in. This is where all the Zoom links to join all the workshops. And then this is where all the recordings are too. So this Math Foundations, what we're in, we had our first week, we covered rounding and like basic rounding principles. Last week we did fractions, decimals, percents. So if you're struggling with those are definitely great to go back and watch and just kind of walk you through how to do them. This week we're kind of covering our volume conversions. And next week we will be doing weight conversions. But yeah, it's just for any class throughout the program, you're going to do some math. So good to understand how to round and do all those principles. But cool. Let's get started with some flashcards. Feel free to throw your answer in the chat, call out your answer, whatever have you. But yeah, love you to participate. So how many teaspoons are in 1 tablespoon? See a bunch of 3s in the chat. You are correct. I told you I was starting easy though. How many cups are in a pint? Oh, I'm seeing different answers. Seeing 2s and 4s would be 2. So there are 2 cups for every pint. How many cups are in 1 quart? See a bunch of 4s? Nice job. Yeah. There are 4 cups in every quart. How many pints are in 1 quart?
Good. Some people are doing a lot of good job in the chat. 2 pints.
Seeing some
then
2s.
I just wanted to make sure too, we have a couple raised hands. Did we answer everyone's question so far? We've got Shelly and Deborah with hands raised.
I just forgot to take mine down.
Okay, good. I was like,
No
I just
worries.
wanted to make sure we were covering it.
Shelly, did you have a question?
I did, but I forgot what I got so excited about trying to do the conversion. I just set up a tutoring session with Chef Kenna.
Okay.
So,
Oh, great. I'll be excited to hang out with you, Miss Shelley. Awesome.
yeah, because I'm struggling. I forgot what I was going to ask you about the conversions because I was so excited about trying to answer the questions.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'll put my hand down.
No worries. If you remember, just throw it up there again or throw it in the chat if it comes back to you.
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks.
No problem. How many pints are in 1 quart? So some of this you see, Google is your friend. That's funny. So true. But some of this, so like the answers we just went through can give you the answer to this. So there are 2 cups in 1 pint. You also know there are 4 cups in 1 quart. So based on that, based on that information, you can basically determine how many pints are in 1 quart. So if you take your 4 cups, that equals in your 1 quart, and you divide it by your 2 cups that are in that 1 pint, that would give you 2, which is your answer. There are 2 pints in a quart. Again, this is definitely on that cheat sheet I was talking to you about. But some of this stuff, like I was saying earlier, is kind of interchangeable. So if you know this and this, but you can't remember this, chances are you can kind of piece together that information you do remember to get your answer. And that's why I like math. So how many pints are in a gallon? This is on your cheat sheet too.
8.
Nice. Yeah, there are 8 pints. Nice job, everyone. How many quarts are in a gallon? Again, you could figure this out because you know how many pints. You know how many pints are in a quart. Getting a lot of 4s?
Yep, a whole row of 4s.
Perfect. How about how many tablespoons are in a cup? Some of this stuff too is like 2, 4, 8, 16. Like a lot of the math is like one of those. Not saying to guess, but if you're gonna guess one of those. Because it's not gonna be 5. It just won't. All right, did we get a bunch of 16s? I kind of flipped through that without saying it.
Yes, we totally did. Yeah, a whole row of 16.
Perfect. And if you're not getting this, say something, please. Throw something in the chat, whatever. Give me a thumbs down. I think that's her reaction, like boo me. All right, how many cups are in a gallon? Did we get 16? Nice. How many pints are in a gallon? I think this one's on here twice, but I liked the number 10, so. Did we get 8 pints again? Last easy one. How many cups are in 16 tablespoons? One.
Got a couple different answers now. 1, 2. Well, let's get a couple more in there, y'all. Let's see. 1, 2, another 1. It's funny because it's just kind of the opposite of a question we just had. I see you, Chef Jessica. You so tricky.
Thank you. I was trying on this one. No, this is basically when I was talking about, this question is asking you cups. How many cups is what we're looking for as the final answer. We know there's 16 tablespoons. A cup is bigger than a tablespoon. This is when you would do the division. Again, you're not going to do it that often, but it's good to understand why you would do this. Granted, this one isn't really much math required because it's just one of those common conversions flipped around on you. So we had this question. Nope, it was too many back. This one, how many tablespoons are in a cup? And you all told me 16 because you just knew that because you guys are so smart. So how many cups are in our 16 tablespoons? Be 1. So there's not much math there. But if there was math, you would divide. So let me jump into the trickier set here, wherever I can find it. Also, FYI, this is on our class, the tutor page as well. We will go to this one because you guys are advanced people now. It's been a good 30 minutes and you're no longer beginners. So how many, this is where we're going to do more of our multiplying and dividing principles, but you have to know those conversions that we just went through to do these correctly. If you're multiplying or dividing by the wrong conversion, you're going to get the wrong answer. So how many teaspoons are in 8 tablespoons? So walking you through it, our answer should be in teaspoons. Our teaspoon is smaller than a tablespoon, meaning you would multiply your 8 tablespoons by your conversion factor, which would be 3 teaspoons to 1 tablespoon. So if you are not doing this, you should be 8 times our 3. And that should get us 24. So that would I see a bunch of 24s. Nice job. So I'm going to kind of walk you through some, and then I'm going to hopefully see what you guys can come up with on your own too. How many tablespoons are in 2 cups? Again, tablespoons are smaller than cups. How many tablespoons are in 1 cup? Would be 16, because that's on our sheet. And we have 2 cups. So you take your 2 and you multiply it by your 16. And we get 32 tablespoons are in 2 cups. See some 32s in there. How many cups are in 6 quarts? So again, a cup is smaller than a quart, so you're multiplying. How many cups are in 1 quart? Got 4 cups to 1 quart. So you take your 6 quarts, multiply by your 4 cups for each quart you have, and that gets us 24. Yeah, I see that in the chat. The math in the head. Use your calculator. Telling you. Some of this math is simple, but it's easy to screw up something that you should know or do know, or maybe you think you know. Totally easy. We all are never thinking 100% great all the time. I wish I was, but that's why I have a calculator, because I'm not. So use it to your advantage. You have one on your computer, you have one on your phone, you have one everywhere. I promise you, you do, if you haven't looked. If you need one, let us know, because we will help direct you to one. So how many teaspoons are in 7 tablespoons? And teaspoon is a smaller unit than a tablespoon. So you would, again, you have to know how many teaspoons are in 1 tablespoon. That would be 3. 3 teaspoons times your 7 tablespoons. 7 times 3, oops, fat fingers, equals 21.
All right, we had so many 21s on that, like 8 of them.
Nice job, everyone.
Fantastic. Everyone's doing a good job.
Yeah. How many teaspoons are in 4 tablespoons? Not going to walk you through it. Going to make you do it on your own this time. So I'm just giving away the answers.
Boom, boom, boom. 3 right
It's
off
so-
the bat.
So hard not to, though. Got a bunch of, I'm not even going to say it. Not even going to do it. Going to wait. Make sure everyone gets there. Well, you're all right.
Mm-hmm.
Nice job, everyone. Got your 12. For those curious how we got there, you know there's 3 teaspoons, 1 tablespoon. You take your 4 times your 3. And that gives you 12. How about this one? How many tablespoons are in 9 teaspoons? So, because tablespoon is bigger than a teaspoon, this is when you would divide. So you still need to know your conversion rate, your 1 tablespoon to 3 teaspoons, but you're doing it backwards. So you take your 9 and you would divide it by your 3, because that's how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon. And that also gets us 3. So there's 3 tablespoons for 9 teaspoons. Got some answers right there. Nice job, everyone.
Yep, it was slower than the last one because we had to switch gears on it for a second and go, from the multiplying to dividing, but we still
Right.
got lots of right answers.
Nice. Yeah, and a lot of, I would say majority of the stuff, like 90% of the things you'll do throughout the program, math-wise, you're going to be going to that smaller unit. But it's just good to understand the way this is algebra, is way that it works and the way that the math works so that you can do it for any case. Because you don't want to be thrown a curveball on a test and be like, I don't even understand. Because that's no fun. No one likes that. Gosh, I could go off forever talking about that. But let's get back to some math problems. How many tablespoons are in half a cup?
We've got a couple unique answers on this one. They're not all the same this time.
Got some 4s, got some 8s. So I'm going to show you 2 ways you could do this. I'm going to show you the way you should do it, though. I guess there's 2. I don't know which way is right. Whatever way works for you, do it up. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, so we have 16 tablespoons for 1 cup. That is common conversion. We now know we have a half a cup. So what you could do, and what my math brain would do, is half, and we went over this last week, a half is 1 divided by 2, because that's a fraction, to get our decimal, 0.5. I would take this 0.5, and I would multiply it by my 16 tablespoons that I know are in each cup. And we get 8. Now, what some of you did, and I'm sure there's some of you out there, you're like, well, it's just half. And you just did 16 divided by 2. Now, you got the right answer, but that only works if you're using a half. Doesn't really work very well if I ask this question in a third of a cup or a quarter of a cup. So it's good to understand you would basically want to take this fraction, turn it into a decimal, and then you're doing your math with how many tablespoons are in 1 cup. But a lot of you got it. I hope I made sense explaining it. But this one's easy now. I've told you too many times. How many tablespoons are in 1 cup? If anyone gets this wrong, were you even listening? Which, if you do get it wrong and you weren't listening, that's okay, because I have been there way too many times in my life where I'm like, I don't know, I was there, but I don't know anything they talked about. That's okay. That's why this is recorded. Did we get a bunch of 16s? Perfect.
Absolutely.
Nice job. All right, how many cups are in 6 pints? I am so bad at being silent. I'm like, I can't sit here and wait. Too antsy for this.
We're going to have to get some like background music or something, like thinking music, like Jeopardy.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Oh, I bet there's a way to be playing that in the background.
There is, actually. There is.
Technology is great. All right. What answers are we seeing? Bunch of 12s? You may be right. Nice job. How many cups are in 11 pints? And I should say this, don't let bigger numbers scare you. Granted, 11's not big. We just haven't got double digits yet. But at some point, you'll see like 8,462. It's fine. It's the same type of math. You just put in more numbers in your calculator. Like, don't let the bigger numbers scare you. It's easy to get intimidated. Just think of them as a little number. I guess they're not, but you get the gist. Principles are the same. You're just putting more in your calculator. So how many cups are in 11 pints? Well, we know there are 2 cups for every pint. So you take your 2 cups and you multiply it by your 11 pints. And we get 22 cups. That is my favorite number, if you guys needed to know.
That's your favorite number, 22?
Yeah.
Is there like significance to that, or you just like it? It looks nice and even.
Yeah, I've always liked it. Like anytime I could pick my number, 22. Huh. Yeah, I don't even think
That.
I like a player that has that number or anything. The twos are nice together.
You and Deborah both. That was her softball number.
No, see, I don't even think it was ever my jersey number. Like, I think I was always stuck with like 12 or 24 or like, I never got 22, but I always
I think
wanted
you
it.
like it just because it's like symmetrical and even and
That's
nice.
probably it.
It's
That's probably
something.
exactly it. The math side of my brain has always been there. Like the OCD looks the same.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's all.
totally it. How many quarts are in 12 cups? So this is when you would divide. A quart is bigger than a cup. So because you're trying to figure out how many is the bigger unit, you would take that 12, because you got 12 cups, and you would divide it by 4, because you know that there is 4 cups for every quart. And that would give you 3 quarts. Got a bunch of 3s. Nice job, everyone. How many cups are in 5 quarts? So a cup is smaller than a quart. So you would multiply. You would need to know how many cups are in 1 quart. If you don't know that answer, it is 4, but you should have that written down or somewhere. You're just gonna need it. You just will. I suggest making like a grandmaster cheat sheet of different type of conversion, simple fraction problems, simple things like that, because at some point you'll remember them and you'll just know and you won't have to refer to it. But until then, it's great to have in front of you, especially during your test. especially during that test. What answer did we get here? I see a bunch in the chat, a bunch of 20s.
A lot of 20s.
Nice job. Perfect. How many cups are in 9 quarts? So again, you have 4 cups for every 1 quart.
Real quick on like 36. We've got some of those coming in. Oh, now they're flying in. 36, 36, 36.
I have to ask, and no one here will admit it, but I know somebody out there is like, I'm not doing the math. I'm listening, but I'm just going to type in the number after everyone who types it in. And if that's you, I give you props because you're trying, but you're not doing the math.
I really like Deborah's utilizing Google, and honestly, that's probably what I would be doing.
That is totally what you would be doing, Shanna.
And it's really funny
okay.
because
You can.
and that's real life, and that's why it's like it's nice to know why and kind of where it all comes from. Because like, I mean, who knows? Maybe you don't have your phone with you at the moment or something like that. You're not connected to the internet, so it's good to like go ahead and have it, these ideas in your head, so you know the concepts. But I totally understand using Google and your Google foo, as we call it, like especially for conversions. I'm always asking like, Siri, how many tablespoons are in a cup, or something. So
yes,
props.
Yeah, whatever way works for you, as long as you understand going forward, that's great. And I'm going to tell you, at some point you're not going to have service. Hopefully that is not while you're taking an air test, but that one time you're going to cook for your family at like an Airbnb in Timbuktu, no service. Got to just do the conversions yourself. Telling you, it'll happen. Maybe not tomorrow, but someday. All right, back to math. Yep, you already said 36. We covered that one. How many pints are in 3 quarts? Doesn't bother me, it's not plural. Quart. Not good at grammar. Do not see me for grammar. Please. I hate when I spell check like while I'm doing it, because now I have to like remember like slide 14. What an S.
That is why you are our math expert and not our English expert.
Seriously. Anyway, so we know how many pints are in 1 quart. 2. If you didn't know, I just told you. So you got 2. multiply by your 3, and you should have ended up with 6. How many quarts are in 12 pints? Again, a quart is bigger than a pint. So because we want to know a bigger unit or a larger unit, that is when you would divide. So you take your 12 and you divide it by 2. Somebody's asking, without asking, well, how'd you know it was 2? Because there are 2 pints for every quart you have, and we're trying to get to quarts. So you take your 12 and you divide it by your 2 pints per quart, and that gives you your 6 quarts. How many pints are in 2 gallons? So a pint is smaller than a gallon, so you would multiply. How many pints are in 1 gallon? 8. Multiply it by 2. Did we get a bunch of 16s? Got some
Yeah, just a couple,
16s?
yeah.
For the person copying everyone, you can still do that. It's okay. I'm just saying that's what I would have done if I were you. Just be like the 7th person to put the same number. Everyone else is right. I was totally that person. I can't even. Did we do this one? There's too many of these. How many gallons are in 16 pints? How many gallons are in 16 pints? Do, 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 do. I don't know how it goes after that. I'm not good with this. See some different answers. So again, you have to know how many pints are in 1 gallon first, which would be 8. So you take your 16 pints and you would divide. Because a gallon is bigger than a pint, we're going to a larger unit. And you would divide that 16 by 8, because each 8 pints equals 1 gallon. And that gives us 2 gallons. Try a couple more. How many quarts are in 12 gallons? See some different answers in there. So a quart is smaller than a gallon. So we are looking for a smaller unit. So because we're looking for a smaller unit, we would multiply. So again, you need to know how many quarts are in 1 gallon, which would be 4. Oops, I just told you the answer. Okay, some of you got it. So you have your 4 quarts for every 1 gallon. So you take your 4 and you multiply it by your 12 gallons. And that would give you 48. How many quarts are in 2.5 gallons? Throwing a decimal at you. Getting kind of crazy. Granted, if you were with us last week, we covered decimals and they shouldn't scare you. Or fractions. Hopefully not. If they do, let us know because we definitely want to help you. We can definitely explain it better, more in depth, go over it. Because you're going to need to know that, definitely, if you don't already. So again, you need to know there's 4 quarts for 1 gallon. You take your 4, you multiply it by your 2.5, and that gives us 10. Saw some right answers in there. How many tablespoons are in 1 pint? Tablespoon is smaller than a pint. This is a 2-step kind of thing. if you really want to break it down. So you don't just know how many tablespoons are in 1 pint, but think of what you do know. You know there are 16 tablespoons in 1 cup, right? That's 16. How many cups are in 1 pint? 2. That's also something you already know. So because we're trying to ask trying to find out how many tablespoons are in that 1 pint, you take your 16 tablespoons that you know are in 1 cup, you multiply it by 2, because you know there's 2 cups for every pint, and that would give you 32 tablespoons. See a bunch of 32s, nice job.
Yeah,
it-
well, a whole bunch of 32s. People are getting it. It's
I didn't
awesome.
trick you. I'm trying to trick you guys. Not
Good
all of
precept
you.
there.
No, it's good. It's better that you're not confused in all reality, but I did throw in some curveballs. So how many teaspoons are in 36 tablespoons? So a teaspoon is smaller than a tablespoon, which means multiplication. And you know there's 3 teaspoons in every tablespoon. Times your 36 gives you 108. Nice job. I see a bunch of 108s. How many pints are in 18 gallons? Well, how many pints are in 1 gallon would be your first step. That is 8. You multiply that 8 by your 18. See a bunch of 144s? You guys are right. Nice job. How many cups are in 27 quarts? How many cups are in 1 quart? 4. You take your 27 times it by your 4. 108. Nice job. How many gallons are in 112 cups?
It's like just a smidgen slower on this one. It's so funny. Oh, there we go. We got 1 answer in, 2 answers in. Okay, now they're flooding in. All right, that's awesome.
So because a gallon's larger than your cup, you would divide. You would need to know you have 16 cups for each gallon. You would take your 112 cups we know we have. Whoa, fat fingers, calm down. 112 divided by your 16 cups per gallon. And that gives us 7 gallons or 112 cups. Could you imagine weighing out 112 cups? 1 cup, 100 cups. And could you even imagine trying to not lose track?
What's the most that you've had to weigh out in volume before, like at one time? Like cup measurements or even liquid measurements too, like if you're doing like gallons of things.
It probably had to have been in the 20s,
Yeah.
I'd say. And
I've definitely done like 48 cups of flour before, and it been like a scoop at a time.
yeah.
It's so funny.
I
Metric
did
system is so
eggs.
great. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, eggs. Oh yeah.
Eggs was a hard one. Like, I don't know. I can't even think about it, but like, oh, we need 250 eggs. Okay, let me make sure I cracked that many. Like,
Yeah.
what? No, you count them before if you're ever in that situation.
Yep. Same thing though too, like when you're separating like yolks from whites and as well, because you're just kind of like,
Yes.
wait a second, what am I on? And you have to count your eggshells just to be like, okay,
Yes.
I needed 96 egg yolks. Did I get it? Did I get it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Weights
I
are
think
great for
eggs is
that.
the worst. All right, let's do a couple more and then we will all go to bed. And by we all, I mean me, because this is my bedtime. I'm on the East Coast. My clock shows you, which also shows you how early I go to bed. Anyway, how many tablespoons are in a quart? See, somebody click on the draw. You may or may not be accurate. We will find out in a minute. You guys are doing good though. A lot of right answers, and I hope if you're not answering and you're just tuning in that a lot of it made sense. And if it did not make sense, please, please, please reach out to myself, reach out to Chef Kenna, anyone on our tutor team. We are here to help you make sure you succeed, make sure you understand, even if it's something that seems ridiculous, that is why we are here. So please let us help you. Did we get a bunch of 64s?
Yeah, we got a couple.
64.
Yep.
So again, this is one of those things you would kind of do a two-parter, as I call them. You know there's 16 tablespoons in 1 cup. We got our 16. How many cups are in a quart? 4. So you take your 16 tablespoons, times it by 4, and then get you your 64 tablespoons for your 1 quart. How many cups are in 12 pints? I feel like this one already was done too. Maybe it's the reverse. I think they all just blend together after a while. 12 pints. Did we get a bunch of 24s?
Yeah, we got a couple. We're getting sleepy, I think.
Okay. Me too. All right, last one for the evening. At least today, for me. How many tablespoons are in 93 teaspoons? Again, don't let the bigger number scare you. Tablespoons is a larger number. So because the answer should be a larger unit, you would divide your 93 teaspoons divided by your 3 teaspoons per tablespoon. And we should end up with, see, a bunch of 31s. Nice job, everyone. Also, and I'm going to kind of flip back over tutor page at the very bottom, you will find our like Quizlets. These are great. Kahoot games, also fun. I was doing them today by myself. They are not fun by yourself. I will tell you that. But do we have any questions? Any last minute, anything, thoughts? Everyone seems good. Thanks for your participation. It's always more fun when you guys answer.
Definitely.
Thank
Re-
you.
Yeah, it's
Thank
really
you.
boring when you don't answer, so keep
Thank
answering.
you, Jessica. Thank you, Kenna.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for joining
you.
us.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You
You
too.
too.
And it's recorded as well for anyone who wants to go back.
Thank
Or if
you.
Yeah, thanks, Shelley. Or if you need help with rounding or fractions, those are recorded in there too. Those are great. Just basic kind of refresher if it's been a minute. Stuff that you don't remember if you're not using.
Yes.
Kenna, I'll see you on Thursday, the 18th. And
All right.
I'll watch all the videos. This is